Welcome to Matt Chat. I'm Matt. Thank you for joining me today. Have you been to a county fair lately? Specifically a livestock show? What is happening at the county fairs across the country? Look, this is something that every person in America should be interested in, should care about. Certainly every farmer, and if you're involved in farming at all, you should care about. And I would encourage you to share this video, to subscribe to the channel if it's helpful to you, but certainly share this video. Look, I go to a lot of fairs, and I'm seeing this all over. I did 4-H, I did livestock shows all the way through growing up. 4-H was originally started to teach young people about agriculture, about animals, to specifically teach them about how to raise these animals in a way that they could then profit off of them, live off of them. It could be a business. They could raise the animal, they learn how to do it, they have a trade. Then they could make money off the animal, or to have it butchered and put it in their freezer and have food on their table, or to put food on somebody else's table. And we have gone so far away from this where today we have to have a class at the county fair called the Born and Raised class, because it literally has to be that there's a class where people that actually have their animals born on their farm and actually raise their animals can show in that class. That's amazing. That ought to be a mandate and a qualification for every person having animals at the fair, because that's what this thing is all about. Instead, these parents and these kids have made it all about money and all about winning and fame and image, and so they go all over the country buying these animals, paying ridiculous amounts of money. We're teaching our children to be spoiled, to not be responsible, paying more money than any animal is ever actually worth. We're getting the animal that some person has genetically modified this animal and then raised it and even trained it, and these people just go and pick them up and they bring them back and they show them a few months before, or they bring them back and they work with them a little bit, but a few months before show time or fair time, they pick these animals up. This is not what it was meant to be. When you look at these animals that are being showed and you look at the genetics, the bloodlines, and how they're being bred, these animals are literally just are not fit to eat. You can tell they've had growth hormones. You can tell they've been modified. You can tell that they're not at all a market animal for consumption. So it really becomes a complete waste. We also have to have a class at the fair called the market class, and that animal is completely different because that animal actually has to be fit for what you would find at the market. Look, God made it where we were to have dominion over these animals, and these animals were meant to be taken care of. Take care of the soil, take care of the land, take care of the animal, and then the animal is used to feed people. That's the whole point. Today we've got, look, we got people paying $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 for this champion steer. We're talking about a steer. Of course, it can't breed, and it's not going to have any calves, and it has no purpose after the fair except to go into somebody's freezer, and it's just a ball of muscle. It doesn't move naturally. It is not comfortable. It is not natural at all, and people are going to pay all this money, and the longer the steer waits and lives, the worse the meat becomes, the tougher the meat becomes, and then eventually what we call that in the market industry and the actual production producers, we'd call that a cull cow after a while, because it's gone too long and people are paying ridiculous amounts of money for it. We've got heifers in a class where a judge is looking and saying, boy, this is a champion heifer, and boy, it's composition and makeup and genetics and all, boy, they're wonderful. Now, she's probably not going to be a good mama. She's probably not going to have good udders and a good bag, and she's probably not going to produce good calves, but she's a grand champion heifer. on what kind of crazy standard are we judging this thing? It's not natural. It's not what God made the heifer to do. He meant her to be able to produce good calves and to take care of them and to be motherly. And we're breeding all of that right out of our cattle, and so our herds are just slowly dying. Everything that we are doing in show cattle is producing the opposite of regenerative ag and what is needed in regenerative ag for these animals. And so it goes against nature completely. And so I want to say to you all, look, we've got to stand against this. We've got to get this back to it's not about these big show genetics that are absolutely useless for nature, for herds, for these animals. They're walking around a great big ball of muscle, but not at all what you need. And so I just want to say that 4-H has gone, people with money and these organizations have taken 4-H the wrong direction. These kids don't know the parts of their animals. Boy, it used to be that if you're out showing cattle, you better be able to identify all the different cuts on that cow, and on that steer or that heifer, and you better be able to talk about how you raised that cow. We need to get back to that. It needs to be that these kids can show and prove that they raised this animal and that they know a little bit about it. Look, you shouldn't be out there showing hogs and know nothing about hogs. I'm talking about how much weight gain should a hog have each day, how much feed, what kind of feed, how should they be raised when they have litters, what, how many do they normally have, what kind of breed of hog do you have. These kids don't know any of this stuff about hogs or about beef or about sheep. We've got to get back to this stuff. Somebody somewhere says we need to take back 4-H, and I'm here to do it. I want you to share this out here. Every one of us should care about this. 4-H should be all about increasing knowledge of farming and livestock and learning skills, and it should be showing people how to live off of the land and how to have a business of raising livestock and selling them and taking good care of that livestock and putting meat on the table for your family and for others. Now look, I hope you'll share this. I hope you'll put this out there. But we have got to start right now taking this thing back. It has gone the wrong direction. It is going to eventually kill real agriculture and real farming. Thank you for watching. Hope it was a help to you today.